Good morning, everybody. In this video, I'm going to talk about everything that I eat and prepare for my long brick sessions. And I'm being a little quiet because it's early here in the morning, but I'm starting out the day just preparing myself some peanut butter and honey sandwich. This is probably my favorite go-to sandwich when doing either a long brick session or just it's gonna be a race day, or even if it's just a long ride. Mostly on days where a lot of the time is going to be spent early on a bike, just because your body is still digesting pretty efficiently when you're sitting on the bike. I wouldn't have this and then go straight out for a run, but I would have something like this and then maybe within the hour or at the end of the hour get out there and go on the run. So it's a good practice for me to keep this meal consistent as I prepare for Lake Placid in July. So I have just about 2 months until that race. So pretty much every single Saturday leading into that race, and probably every Sunday leading into that race, because now I'm doing double long bike sessions on the weekends. I'll probably have this or some variation of this for breakfast. The variation to this, which is probably slightly less nutritious, a little bit more fatty, would just be toast with butter and honey, or toast with butter, jelly, and honey. So that one's a little bit more simple carbs. This one at least has some nut butter, which has protein, fat, carbs, some sustenance. Sometimes if I'm really feeling like I need it, I'll throw a banana down, but today is not that day. I also usually start with some caffeine, like an espresso, depending on how much time I have in the morning. If I think that I don't have that much time to get into my workout, I will skip this or maybe have some caffeine while on the bike. The big reason for that is managing your bathroom visits is an art and a skill that does require mastering if you're going to be doing long distance endurance events. So you either want to have to use the bathroom as soon as you wake up, or you want to be able to get started on your training / started on your race as soon as possible. So I'm having this. I'm going to give myself the half hour this morning to prepare, to touch up my bike, because I just got some new bottle cages. And there's been this click on my pedal strokes lately, and it's been driving me absolutely insane. So I'm going to do some trial and error on today's bike ride by taking one of my pedals off, greasing up the threads, putting it back on and seeing if that helps. And then I'm also gonna put a little bit more, it's like this friction type material that's good for carbon bikes, on my seat post, and re-clamp that down to make sure that the clicking isn't coming from there. So that's what I'm gonna do on the biking front. The workout today is 4 hours on the bike, 20-minute post-bike jog, and I'm a little nervous, to be honest, because I've been increasing elevation that I'm approaching on the bike. So today's Zwift ride, it's a pretty nice day outside, but I'm gonna stick to Zwift today. Today's Zwift ride is, I think It's called the Uber Pretzel, which is, I want to say, 60 something miles and 5,000 plus feet of elevation. The estimated time on that ride is supposed to be like 4.5 hours. I'm going to see if I could get it done in the 4 hours that I have available. And that should be a pretty tough ride today. So feeling a little bit nervous to even start the workout. It'll be fine. These are just the classic thoughts that I feel like everybody has when they know that they have a long session ahead of them. There's this want to procrastinate despite the fact that you're going to be on the bike for so long, but you're procrastinating because you're going to be on for so long, and you know once you start you're not going to stop. So like starting the activity is like a full and true commitment that for the next 4 hours plus 20-minute run, so 4.5 hours, you're fully locked into training. You're not doing anything else. But anyway, so to prepare for the ride, aside from eating what I'm going to eat here, once I prepare it, I'm going to need to make sure that I have my nutrition lined up so that, one, I'm lucky, my fiance, if I run out of fluid, then she'll tend to go refill the bottles that I have in my little nutrition station so that I can continue going without having to stop my ride. But in the sport, as with anything else, it's best to be self-sufficient. So I'm going to be starting the ride with 4 of these lined up. Not all shakers. I have some in the form of shakers, some in the form of cycling bottles with 2 scoops of raw fuel, which you can see on top of my fridge each. So that would be 600 milligrams of sodium and about 200 calories. So I have 1 of those bottles an hour, and then I have my my goos or whatever I plan on eating at my feeding interval or fueling interval. My fueling interval for those is between 30 and 40 minutes. I'm likely going to have something every 40 minutes because that's just what I typically do, but I know that it would probably be beneficial to start working my body to being able to digest and absorb nutrition, at least on the bike, every 30 minutes. And that will just, 1, give me more calories and more carbs, more energy available to me during the race, and it'll acclimate my stomach to digesting that much while I'm riding. A lot of people experience like gastro issues and, bonking, lack of energy issues during their race. I wanted to start sipping this before it gets cold. They experience those issues on their race, and what I would imagine the number one reason for that is that they did not practice their nutrition plan frequently enough during their training. And realistically, you should be practicing your nutrition every single session. But as far as like the full nutrition plan, meaning your goos, your fluids, what you eat before, what you eat after, yeah, you should do that on every single workout. But as far as the goos are concerned, like what you're actually eating within the workout, really any workout longer than I say 75 minutes, some people say 90 minutes. But if your workout is going to be longer than 90 minutes, you should definitely be doing the goos as well. You might think that since it's a shorter workout that I don't need to get this nutrition source or calorie source in. And, realistically, you wouldn't normally. Like, you can finish the workout without it. You do not need it to finish the workout, and with the worry that you're going to bonk. But what you do need it for is to get your body acclimated to processing that while you're working. Because what a lot of people do, and I'm going to say runners mostly, and I'm only saying runners mostly because they're the most vocal about it, and I've seen the most memes about it, and people talk about it at like running events. What they do is they don't have any goos during their whole marathon prep, half marathon prep, and then it'll be free at whatever race they're doing, and then they're gonna start having the goos, and like they'll figure out their nutrition strategy that morning, and they'll say, okay, 1 every 4 miles, 1 every 40 minutes, whatever. And then their stomach will turn completely upside down halfway through the race because they just haven't done the right thing. They haven't given their body a chance to get used to this. And even me, like when I first start taking nutrition again in training, I'll barely make it home like that first time or even that second time, or I'll have severe cramps, or like I'll feel very bloated or gassy in a way where when you run gassy, it is one of the most uncomfortable experiences ever, I think, for a guy. Because there's plenty, girls deal with plenty more than us guys when it comes to, internal experiences, whether it's, having a baby and whatever. But for a guy, having a gas baby is absolutely horrible when you're doing track intervals, and then you have to jog out another 2 miles home where you're worried that you're not gonna make it to the toilet. One of the worst things. So that being said, I will have 4 bottles of my drink plus electrolytes. I will have a goo every 40 minutes. I just don't have enough stocked up to be doing it every half hour on a ride like today, because that would be 8 goos, and that's a lot. Goos can get expensive, especially like the higher nutrition count, higher amino acid count goos. So I'll do 1 every 40 minutes of those, and then I'll be eating this now, and while I'm digesting this or pre-digesting this, I will work on my bike just to see if I could figure out that clicking issue, because it really drives me crazy. As just another side note, I will end this video and probably bring you along for my just getting ready to get on the bike part of the video. When you're cycling and when you're doing something completely repetitive like an endurance sport, it's very important to look out for your mental state, because when you're sitting basically chained to something for such a long time, you get so accustomed to, what you're hearing, that slight changes in what you're hearing, especially when it comes to your bike, and you're not like a bike mechanic where you can say, this really isn't something to worry about. Like, the longer an unusual noise goes on while you're on the bike, the more time you have to convince yourself that it's something absolutely horrible and catastrophic and you're destroying your bike and you should stop and take a look at it and see if you can fix it, but you want to finish your workout. So you'll bounce back and forth between like this craziness, and then you'll be adjusting your seated position to see if maybe when I stand up, I don't hear the noise as much, or when I put less power through my left leg, the clicking diminishes. So now I gotta ride with this weird style or weird technique so that I'm modifying my technique for clicks per hour rather than like power output and efficiency. So you really don't want to even get in the game of that. And you know what happens when you run too? Like, people will say like, oh my God, I'm gonna like tear a shin, I'm gonna tear my calf, I feel this pain. And you know, one, there are mental models to get over those mental issues. Like, a quick aside, for me, if I have a tendency to get calf problems, if I'm feeling stuff that is even gonna make me start to think that I'm getting ready to tear a calf muscle, I just remind myself, like, I'm running on sore legs, and this is what running on sore legs feels like. They're just sore and tired. You're not getting injured. But as far as the bike's concerned, you know, nobody likes clicking. Nobody likes loud clicking. So the more you can learn and the more you can do to minimize just putting yourself in a weird mental state while you're on a long workout like this, the better. Like, you want to be riding and you want to be only focused on riding, and maybe like if you're inside, you want to focus on, you know, your riding and whatever podcast you're listening to, show you're watching, whatever. If you're outside, you want to be focusing on handling the road, the conditions, your environment, and then also your power and speed. There's not really much room to be self-conscious and worried about looking down at your bike pedal and then, you know, you missed a few seconds of movement forward where you could get into an accident, miss a turn, like get off the bike trail. So keep that in mind. And then as a final note here, the reason why I'm not riding outside on this beautiful day is because it's been downpouring for the past 5 days. And I know that the trail that I would want to ride on, the bike trail, even though I don't ever advocate riding on bike trails, the area that I live is super, it's like pseudo city and pseudo New York City. So the cars here just do not care. It could be slightly dangerous. So there's a bike trail entrance down where I live that takes you basically like way upstate. So what I like to do, or what I'm liking the idea of, because I did get hit by a car last year and it like, I had to get my bike repaired. It was like a month before the race. It was a mess. I ride that trail far north, and then I have the option once I'm up north where it's a little bit less congested, the roads are a little bit more hilly, but hilly in a way where they're rolling hills. That's the word I was looking for, where you can just kind of coast along and like work on getting elevation gain, but work on getting it in a way where you're learning how to shift properly, how to handle properly, how to use your cadence as momentum to carry over a hill. That could be a whole nother discussion, but I already anticipate lots of large puddles and lots of mud spots on the trail that leads up north, and it's like 20 miles north. It's not like I was just like, you got to deal with it for 15 minutes. So I do not want to take my brand new Canyon out on that trail and slip in some mud, which has happened to me before, where I have fallen in mud and now I'm just risking damaging my brand new bike. So it's gorgeous out, yes, but I'm gonna do the smart thing and just do this Zwift ride with with the window open and stare outside, so it's like I'm outside. And luckily, unlike last weekend, it's not 80 degrees outside, which means it's not 80 degrees inside. So I should be able to manage how much I'm sweating this ride a little bit better. Because last week, like, I no joke lost between 6 and 8 pounds, and I'm convinced that that whole 6 to 8 pounds came out of my brain, because I get so stupid after a long ride like that, where like you're just sitting there and sweating every ounce of fluid from you. So like, I am gonna coin the new term cycling stupid, because I know it happens to people who do hot yoga too, and I know that because I used to do a lot of it back in the day. Like, just that level of rapid dehydration over, for the bikers, cyclists, such a long period of time. Like, your reaction time decreases, your mental power decreases, you just feel like a shell of a human. Today, that shouldn't be a problem. It's 50 degrees out. By the time I finish the ride, it might be 60 degrees out. I'll have the window wide open, and pray for me. It should be a little bit different than last week, with any luck. But I think that's enough for an intro to a video. This is a long intro. I will also touch base probably on the ride a little bit, touch base just before the ride when I do this bike fix, and then after the ride, I'll touch base too, so you can see exactly how stupid or not stupid I get. I can give you a good breakdown of, this is supposed to be one of the hardest courses on Zwift, so wish me luck. If you like this, subscribe, and if you want to take your Ironman training to the next level, check out my training program in the link in the description. It includes my 30-week plan that I used last year to PR my Ironman. So I plan on updating that to this year's plan once the results are in, because, better plan, or maybe I'll give both plans so that you can pick depending on the level that you're at, because the one that I'm doing this year is probably a bit more intense than last year, and it's probably better to have the option there. So I'm gonna eat, because I just pushed my morning out 24 minutes and 30 seconds or so, and we're gonna get started. So see you in a bit. What's up there, guys? Quick check-in from the bike. I am done with 2 of the 5
peaks of this route. And this is like the Uber pretzel or whatever it is on Zwift. And honestly, not too bad. Just before hopping on the bike, I made some adjustments to my seat. I did that work on the pedal that I mentioned that I was going to do. And so far it's super smooth. Seat's a little bit higher right now, where it probably should have been since I put the bike together, but it is what it is. So I'm feeling some slightly different muscles being activated, or at least I was for a good bit of the beginning of the ride. But now, thankfully, everything seems to be in fair working order. No more clicks, no more annoying noises, and pretty steady heart rate. So that's it. Just checking in at the near midpoint of the ride at an hour and a half and 21 miles in with 2,000 feet of elevation. Hey guys, still riding here, 2.5 hours in. I just had a quick idea that I wanted to share with you guys, more like a bit of a pro tip, and it's the effect of temperature on heart rate and perceived effort. Now, people think this is like very clear. It's a very obvious statement when running outside, but if you're cycling and you have a nice shop fan blowing on you, you're by the window, you got some fresh air, it's a bit of a cooler day. Literally, for me right now, same or similar level of effort, same or similar or harder climbs compared to last week. Overall heart rate holding much lower. So don't get so caught up on the heart rate if you can. It is important. It's important to, sorry about this, it's important to not overdo it, but keep in mind that temperature will make it seem like you're working harder than you are. So, just a quick tip. What's up, everybody? We are 10 minutes to finishing this workout. Filming this now so that I don't lag time getting ready for my run. As I mentioned last week, it's really important to just get straight out there. Don't give yourself a chance to recover, to breathe. You wanna be minimizing the amount of time between activities as much as possible to get your legs ready for the race and to save time on those transitions. Key mentality point here: if you're not moving during the race, you're wasting time. So that's why we do this. You want to minimize the amount of time that you're not continuing to press forward. We are back with the brick stats, the breakdown. I just got some food in me, had a berry and protein smoothie, followed by 4 eggs with some sharp cheddar as just a quick omelet, and a little bit of creatine, the standard 5 milligrams of creatine, whatever the 1 scoop serving is. And so here are the stats. 64 miles on the bike with 5,300 feet of elevation. Total time, 4 hours. Average power, 156 watts, which is, for me, pretty high for a quote-unquote easy long duration day. So
Feeling very good about that ride. It was definitely a high quality effort, high power, high elevation, exactly what I'm looking to do to prepare for this next race in Lake Placid. So with the total race elevation gain being closer to 8.5, 9,000, at this rate, with a route like this and a course like this, I am looking to exceed that elevation for like a mile per elevation route. That's what I'm looking for. By the time I start doing 6-hour rides up to 7-hour rides, even more maybe, this elevation will be higher than the total race elevation for Lake Placid, and that's really what I'm looking for. Just acclimating my body to working at a higher power output over a long duration. Now, following that, my legs were in a pretty rough state, just because it was a tough workout. But somehow, surprisingly and not surprisingly, because this is the whole point of this training, the 3 miles, and I know I said it would be 2 in an earlier part of the video, but luckily I checked my plan just before heading out, and it was a 30-minute run. It ended up being 3.1 miles, so a nice, slow, steady 5K, sub 10-minute pace, keeping a heart rate below 155, so that stayed in the aerobic zone. And honestly, like, pretty pleased with this brick session. Overall, burnt 2,400 calories. That for the day is going to put me at 4,400 that I need to re-ingest so that I can recover properly. 1, 2, refill those glycogen stores that I just depleted. Luckily, I did a much better job on this ride with hydration. It was way less hot, and I had the fan in a much more optimized position, so I was efficiently, cooling off, I'll just say. And with that efficient cooling off, there was much less sweat, covering the mat, even though I did put a nice towel underneath me just in case it wouldn't shake out like that. And I had a towel on top of the bike also, just to, cover my bases, make sure that I'm not putting excess moisture, especially excess salty moisture, on the bike, which is honestly, a lot of people, especially beginners, don't realize. If you're riding inside a lot, you're subjecting your bike to a lot of corrosive sweat. And the sweat's corrosive because you have metallic objects, metallic connections, and that paired with salty water, you end up oxidizing certain types of metal components. Even though you have a carbon bike, you still have metal areas where you might put like the bottle cages, where you have your brakes, your discs, your shifters, your stuff like that. So keep an eye on that. Make sure that you're wiping your bike down after efforts like this. The fixes that I took the time to do this morning, namely the pedal that I mentioned, and I don't know if I mentioned the seat post, but I did have something to do with the seat post. As you can see, the seat post, and you probably can't notice this, it would take an insane attention to detail to notice something like this, but the seat post here, let's see if I can orient my hand there, is a bit higher. So I raised the seat post. I added some, it's kind of like a goo that increases the friction between the seat posts and the bike frame, and it's something that you use on carbon so that when you tighten up the screw that wedges the seat posts in place, you don't have to put as many Newton meters of force to achieve the same stability, durability, and security of that connection. So I reapplied that, we'll call it just friction goo. I reapplied the friction goo, set the seat post a little bit higher, and properly tightened that connection there to the 5 Newton meters, and there might be 4 Newton meters. And that was perfect. There were no further issues with the seat post. In previous rides, I'd like sit back or lean back occasionally just to like give my body a break and stretch. And I'd hear a noise that indicated that the seat post was trying to settle into the bike frame. And that's not what we want. We don't want movement, especially while we're riding, and we don't want movement of what should be stationary parts, especially when they deal with your fit and how you're riding. So that resolved. Now the big click that I was dealing with on the pedal, I'm more happy about this one, to be honest. Just before getting on the bike, after eating my sandwich, I took that pedal off. And a quick aside, my initial reaction when I was dealing with this pedal issue was first to just throw the pedal away. I was completely ready to buy new pedals, throw this one away, and chalk it up to some issue within the pedal that would be impossible to resolve with the skills and the knowledge that I currently have. And honestly, that was lazy. And then I went online to look up how much these pedals actually cost and how much that decision would cost me to be lazy. And it was like $250. So I decided to try to figure it out. I was watching a few YouTube videos and thinking about what it could be. Nothing really quite hit what I was trying to figure out, but then I looked in this bike cleaning kit that I bought quite a while ago by Muck Off, and I had a lubricant spray, and 2, I recently bought it's a bike grease that you put on the threads of certain connection points, like the pedals and where they connect to the crank. So I took the pedal off, I took the lube and I sprayed it in and then held it in a way where it can soak into the base of the pedal where the bearings are. And I just did 2 hits of that, let it sit there and, soak in, spun it around a few times, and then applied the bike grease to the threads of the pedal, reapplied it, tightened it to the maximum, basically hitting the torque that I was supposed to hit, and then super smooth. It was a super smooth, zero noise, even at high loads. Like I was hitting like plus 300 watts in certain spots for very short periods of time, but high load where it would normally have agitated that noise and caused it to perpetuate throughout the rest of the ride. Didn't have to deal with that, so everything was good in that regard. And the only comment that I would make to the 2 changes that I did in regards to my ride were nothing really with the pedals, super happy about that, but something you should know when you change or adjust your seat height. If you have gotten used to a different position or a previous position on the bike, you're gonna start assuming you're still within the range that you should be in for your fit. It might feel a little awkward at first because you've just done how many hundreds of miles just pedaling in this one certain position, and you just decided randomly to change it one day. So I felt a few different muscles than normal engaging, but those muscles that were engaging
and tiring at an earlier part of the ride were muscles that should have been engaging while I was in the wrong position. So it was a good sign and a bad sign, because one, the good sign, I was now engaging those muscles and I was now in a better position on my bike. The bad sign is just I should have done this a long time ago instead of sitting and waiting on it. But with the new bike and all the newness that came with it, I was in a way a little scared to ruin it, to break it. Not being extremely confident in working on your own bike, it's very easy to shy away from doing certain maintenance activities out of fear of just ruining it, basically. So I got over that today. I did what I had to do, and it was great. So now looking forward to tomorrow. I have another 3-hour ride that I'm gonna have to get done super early because it's Mother's Day. So I'm gonna wake up early. I'm gonna get on the bike, gonna do my 3 hours, and then drive out to my parents so that we can have a nice day together. So fit your training in. We all have busy lives. We all have things that we need to do, obligations, family, friends, work. But if you need to wake up early one day just to get your training in, then do that. Get the training in. Be consistent. It's going to pay off in the long run. All this consistent work that I've been putting in, I'm just watching my numbers climb higher and higher and higher. My VO2 max last week hit the superior rank for cycling. So it probably jumped, I want to say, like at least 5 or 6 points just within this training cycle since January. Same thing with my running. My running has been climbing at a very high rate, and the only thing that can be associated with is just putting in the consistent work, caring more about my diet, and just working harder in each training session to get better and better each day. So I'll end with that. If you like this video, then please subscribe. And if you want to take your training to the next level, then check out the link in the description. It helps the channel, helps me, and makes me want to keep doing this. So I'll catch you all in the next video, and enjoy your training.